Vice President of Professional Affairs. As such, my honor is to oversee the Infrastructure Report Card and the committee and moderate today's news conference. Thank you for taking time out of your day to learn about our state's infrastructure condition. We're pleased to share a summary of the findings today, including grades, and we'll release the full report online today. Today we have the pleasure of hearing from ASE Texas President Dr. Mark Wood, the Infrastructure Report Card Committee co-chairs Griselda Gonzalez and Austin Mezzarelli. In addition, Austin Contractors and Engineers Association President Steve Enan and Austin Chamber VP State and Federal Relations Travis Krogman will provide remarks on construction and businesses within the infrastructure systems before we open the floor for questions. Before we release the grades, I invite ASE Texas President Mark Wood to provide an overview of the Texas section and its activities. Dr. Wood is a professional engineer with more than 35 years experience that spans hazardous materials remediation, environmental compliance, water resources, hydraulics and hydrology, and geoenvironmental services. In addition to environmental engineering position, he also serves as an adjunct professor, has been affiliated with Texas ASCE since 1984, and as an ASCE student chapter. So I'll turn it over to Mark.
Well, thanks so much, Julie, Ms. Jones. Appreciate it. Happy E-Week to everyone. We're celebrating engineers. Thank you for coming. Today, ASCE Texas section is pleased, we're excited to present the results of our 2025 Texas Infrastructure Report Card, a monumental effort that spanned across 2 Texas section presidential terms and involved a record 60-member volunteer committee of civil engineering experts. I appreciate the time contributed by past President Kimberly Cornett, all our committee members, every last one of them, and section staff, Jenny and her staff, as well as the stakeholder review effort provided by key government agencies. Established in 1913, ASCE Texas section represents more than 11,000 civil engineers statewide. ASCE works to raise awareness of the need to maintain and modernize the nation's infrastructure using sustainable and resilient practices. We advocate for increasing and optimizing investment in infrastructure and work to improve engineering knowledge. In addition to the Texas Infrastructure Report Card, our members routinely support the year-round technical work of state agencies and policymakers. We hold the Texas Legislative Drive-In in each legislative session, including the 89th session. Our members will be back at the Capitol tomorrow to continue sharing the findings we will learn about today during our meetings with legislators. As civil engineering and infrastructure experts, our members also provide stakeholder comments and review technical documents for agencies such as the General Land Office and Texas Water Development Board, and our Government Affairs Committee as our Government Affairs Committee reviews and advises on draft infrastructure policy. The reason we conduct this work is that we, civil engineers, have an obligation to educate the public and policymakers about the condition of our state's infrastructure and how best to make improvements in infrastructure, because infrastructure is a critical issue impacting the economy, our society and security, and the sustainable future of the Lone Star State. So ASCE Texas section members are really, truly civil engineering leaders. We build a better quality of life across the street and around the world since 1913. For those of you who are new to the ASCE report card, we issue comprehensive assessments on the nation's infrastructure once about every 4 years. After we release our state-focused report today, the national report card will soon follow on March 25th. The Infrastructure Report Card is the most highly cited infrastructure report in Texas and the country. However, Texas is one of a kind with its own unique characteristics, trends, and challenges. So it is important to have a localized report that speaks to our state's needs and future outlook to pair with the national assessment. While the 2025 Texas Infrastructure Report Card is an important advocacy tool, it is not intended to be a commentary not to be a commentary nor an evaluation of the performance of any government department, agency, or individuals of these groups. In fact, we commend these governmental agencies for their hard work and dedication to serving the citizens of Texas. It is through the hard work of the Report Card Committee and the agencies that oversee the respective infrastructure categories that the citizens of Texas and legislators may understand the state of our infrastructure. Texas is the largest continental state, the second most populated state, and an economic powerhouse for the United States. Leading the way in wind power energy production, our state is home to some of the largest infrastructure systems in the nation, but our nearly 30 million person population is rapidly growing and requires an increasing need for infrastructure improvement. But now is the time to expand, not cut, spending on infrastructure to continue the state's economic prosperity, increase public safety, and improve environmental stewardship and build resilience. Infrastructure has a significant impact on our daily lives. Too often we take it for granted and simply expect it to work. Right? Today, ASCE Texas section is proud to provide a snapshot of the state's infrastructure condition, along with recommendations for a resilient future. So I want to give the podium back to Julie to hear more about the grades and the solutions, and thank you very much for attending this press conference today. Ms. Jones, take it away.
Dr. Boyd, thank you. We appreciate your service to ASCE and your leadership. Without further ado, I'm happy to introduce ASCE Texas Section's Infrastructure Report Card Committee co-chairs, Griselda Gonzalez and Austin Mazzarelli, to unveil the 2025 grades and share our recommendations for growing Texas. Griselda is a licensed professional engineer with 25 years experience. Her projects have varied from land development, water and wastewater systems, drainage design, and transportation and roadway projects. She's held various leadership positions within ASCE Texas section and earned several state and global ASCE awards. Austin is a licensed professional engineer with more than 12 years experience in municipal, county, and DOT transportation projects. He's remained an active member of ASCE since college, serving as chair of several committees. So with that, I'll turn it over to Austin.
Thank you, Ms. Jones and Dr. Boyd. My name is Austin Mazzarelli, and it's great to be here, and an honor to join you for today's 2025 Report Card Rollout News Conference. It's hard to think we kicked off things a little over a year ago. In 2023, this tremendous 60-member committee took on the most ambitious Texas report card ever, covering an extraordinary 16 categories, up 12 from 2021. Preparation for this report is a product of thousands of volunteer hours from people across the state and supporting leaders from Texas and ASCE Global. We owe everyone involved a personal thank you for their fantastic work and dedication to the mission. The 2025 Texas Infrastructure Report Card was created as a public service to citizens and policymakers to inform them on the infrastructure needs across the state. Civil engineers convey their expertise within the familiar letter grade format to condense data into a brief analysis of Texas infrastructure network. The 2025 report card also includes recommendations to improve our grades to produce a quality of life every Texan deserves. The grades for Texas are a snapshot in time, leading to conversations and actions towards infrastructure advancement. Recent state legislative sessions have highlighted infrastructure gaps, whether it's energy in the power grids, stormwater and drinking water, or statewide broadband. There have been shifts in planning, standards, and funding across the state, but our target continues to move as more and more people make Texas their home or place for business. Our infrastructure feels these strains in addition to facing more frequent and intense weather events. Ultimately, we aim to ensure that Texas has a robust infrastructure to support its growing population and future demands. Through our collective efforts, we strive to inspire positive change for all Texans across the state. Before I dive into the grades, we want to emphasize that this report is a reflection of the systems we have in place and their current and expected ability to withstand external stressors, such as increased demands, increasing severe weather, growing population, or shifting traffic patterns, which are all factors we are seeing impact every state in the nation. These grades do not reflect on the people who work hard every day to operate and maintain these systems and who have done incredible work with the available resources. And now, the moment you all have been patiently waiting for. The 2025 Texas Infrastructure Report Card's overall grade for the state is a C. A C means our infrastructure is in adequate condition but requires attention. This overall C is the same overall grade we received in the 2021 Texas Infrastructure Report Card, where we have seen a continual increase over the 4 prior reports and a 1-notch upgrade over the C- grade in the ASC's 2021 Report Card for America's Infrastructure. The 2025 Report Card includes 2 categories in good condition, a B range, 8 categories in adequate condition, C range, and 6 that are at poor condition and at risk, a D range. The 16 categories graded by civil engineers and their respective grades are on the plaques in front of me. But starting with aviation, aviation graded a B, bridges with a B-, broadband with a D+, dams with a D+, drinking water with a D+, energy with a C, hazardous waste with a C+, levees with a D-, ports with a C+, public parks with a C-, rail with a C, roads with a C-, solid waste with a C+, stormwater with a C-, transit with a D+, wastewater with a D-. Consistent themes throughout the report involve population growth, increasing severe weather events, and the interconnectedness of our infrastructure networks. Each of these factors is having a major impact on our already aging infrastructure, which in turn faces funding gaps. With more than 2 million residents added since our last report in 2021, along with an expansion and influx of businesses across our state, our infrastructure is being asked to reliably support these demands. Texas balanced upgrades and maintenance to these systems through state, local, and federal funding. With a recent record investment from the federal government, including the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act in 2021, but significant resources are still needed to ensure the state's infrastructure can sustain the nation's second largest economy and population. Increasingly severe weather events, including flooding, hurricanes, winter freezes, or extreme summer heat, are putting immense strain on our infrastructure, which is already feeling the pressure from the exploding population and aging assets. The resilience of Texas's built environment is paramount to ensuring economic stability and safe communities. Our report illustrates that Texas infrastructure networks are interconnected and rely upon each other for success. For example, nearly all water and wastewater systems depend on electricity for their operations. A freight rail incident at a rail crossing can halt an entire transportation network. This emphasizes that our systems are not only as strong as their weakest link, so it is crucial that we continue to invest and plan strategically to ensure Texans are supported by first-class infrastructure. After covering those few overarching themes, I'll discuss specific chapter findings and grades from the report. The aviation and road grades were the only 2 categories to improve since the 2021 report. Aviation is now a B, the highest grade in our report. We cited highly rated airfield infrastructure, pavement conditions, and expansion project underway at the state's biggest airports as a major cause for optimism. Roads are now a C-, up from a D+ in 2021, thanks to major funding upgrades from state initiatives, such as TxDOT's $100 billion TxDOT Clear Lanes initiative, as well as federal infrastructure investment and Jobs Act. From the Texas Clear from this Texas Clearlands initiative. 18 projects from the program have been completed, 25 are under construction, and 62 are planned. The bridge grade didn't rise, but the category maintained its very high B- grade, thanks to only 1.2% of bridges listed in poor condition, which is the third lowest rate in our nation. Our 56,000 bridges, twice the number of any other state, carry approximately 616 million vehicles daily. Our economy depends on minimal delays or no posted load restrictions for goods to get to market faster. And these bridge structures maintain a strong condition rating for the traveling public and private enterprises. As populations continue to surge and the state has a vibrant economy, the bridges, roads, and airport trending in the right direction will help promote continued economic growth. These are positive trends. However, 6 of the 16 categories had grades that went down from 2021. These include drinking water, energy, levees, solid waste, transit, and wastewater. It is no coincidence that many of these categories are most impacted by extreme weather, such as heat and wind, and the changing usage trends, such as skyrocketing demands. To focus on energy, we made a content change for this 2025 report, adding energy generation infrastructure to the report instead of strictly focusing on transmission and distribution lines. This partly explains the drop from the B+ in 2021 to a C in this report in 2025. Winter events like 2021 Winter Storm Uri and Viola exposed vulnerabilities in the Texas energy system, which is responsible for producing, transporting, and delivering approximately 25% of the United States' energy needs. Texas has the largest gas pipeline network, the largest wind energy producer, and the second largest solar energy producer in the nation. With rapid population growth and a massive rise in the adoption of high energy consuming data centers, energy demands are skyrocketing, up a projected nearly 50,000 megawatts from forecast just over 1 year ago. The interconnection queues for new generation sources are waiting to connect to the grid are growing, and a problem we're seeing nationwide. Drinking water is now a B+, down from a C-, and wastewater is now a D- down from a D in 2021. Outdated infrastructure in each category and significant funding deficits threaten the cleanliness of our water systems and our ability to accommodate population growth. Between 2020 and 2023, Texas has seen a rapid increase in the number of boil water notices, especially those caused by low distribution pressure, which is a sign of aging infrastructure. Each water connection in the state loses about 30 gallons of treated water per day to aging and leaking pipes. This loss is drinking water Texans have paid to have treated through their tax dollars, which never reached the destination due to faulty infrastructure. It cost us a valuable resource in addition to wasting tax dollars. Wastewater networks in Texas are largely outdated and ill-equipped to withstand increasing severe weather events. Outdated sewer lines, designed before a modern understanding of more extreme participation events, have resulted in combined sewer overflows where heavy rainfalls overwhelm pipelines, causing untreated stormwater and wastewater to overflow and discharge directly into nearby streams, rivers, and water bodies. These overflows led to contamination of roughly 470 rivers in Texas and several other of the state's beaches. The Texas Water Development Board has actively addressed these needs, providing more than $2 billion for nearly 165 projects from 2020 to 2024. Still much more is needed to be done to address this aging asset statewide. We introduced 4 new chapters to this report, as I mentioned earlier: broadband, hazardous waste, ports, and rail. While more grades went down from 2021 than up, the new chapters were all in the C- range, except D+ for broadband, which is how our cumulative grade remained at a C. These are just a few of the 16 categories of infrastructure we have assessed. For a more detailed breakdown I encourage you all to visit our website for the full report. This report not only breaks down our current state of infrastructure, as I mentioned earlier, but it also provides recommendations for improving it. For that, I will pass the baton to Griselda Gonzalez, the other co-chair of the 2025 report.
Thank you, Austin. So now that Austin has taken us through those findings, we see that Texas has a C grade, which demonstrates that we are working hard to improve and maintain our built environment. But there is still work to be done. Looking ahead, our infrastructure systems cannot sustain nor reduce investment gaps without intentionally making advancements in the way we fund these assets, the way we administer policy, the way we develop and implement standards, and the way we manage them. In reviewing the 16 chapters, we did identify 4 overall concepts in the recommendations for most categories. If we are ready to improve upon what has already been accomplished, ASCE has some recommendations to raise the grades. First, we need to continue investing in our infrastructure. We do this by appropriating funding and revenues to their respective sources. We do this by injecting additional funding through grant programs. We also adopt appropriate rate fees to support maintenance and investing in research and advancement of technology for efficiency and safety. In addition to state and local investments, federal support from the Infrastructure Investments and Jobs Act funded a wide range of existing and new programs related to transportation, drinking water, wastewater, broadband, and energy. However, this shot in the arm funding is just one part of the solution. We need to improve our infrastructure. The IIJA is set to expire in 2026, and there is no guarantee that this funding will be reauthorized. This puts more on the shoulders of our state and local agencies, alongside the private sector, to continue closing our state infrastructure investment gap. Second, we must drive sound policy and regulations to ensure safety, efficiency, and reliability for all projects across all categories. The framework of sound policy fosters design innovation. It enhances infrastructure systems, functionality, and supports resilience. Well-crafted policies and regulations can facilitate public-private partnerships, attract investments from across sectors to accelerate infrastructure development. Additionally, permitting reform and design-built procurement strategies can reduce construction times. It can make the most out of assets and save project owners and taxpayer money. Third, we must continue reviewing and modernizing engineering standards that incorporate innovation, minimize risk and vulnerabilities to our infrastructure networks. Incorporating resilience in the design and maintenance of our infrastructure systems. They need to account for environmental impacts such as sea level rise, increased heat, extended droughts, and more intense rainfalls. This ensures a return on our investment and public safety. Lastly, we need to prioritize asset management and planning, which allows owners to plan, to manage, to optimize investments, and allocate resources effectively. A proactive approach to managing infrastructure also facilitates strategic planning and supports risk mitigation to extend asset life and service delivery. Understanding our assets allows us to prioritize investments and make the most efficient use of available resources, rather than relying on increased funding. These are just an abbreviated snapshot of our recommendations. Keep in mind that each chapter has its own unique series of recommendations to improve the grades. While Texas leads the nation in Fortune 500 companies and gross exports, we stand as the 8th largest economy in the world. This is up from the last report card in 2021 when we were 9th. Texas civil engineers know that bold solutions with targeted infrastructure investments can make a huge difference in the quality of life for every Texan. With proper funding and planning, Texas will prepare to implement bold, ambitious solutions to address the gaps reflected by some of the lower grades. Let's recognize this extraordinary effort by this year's Infrastructure Report Card Committee, and let's use it as a tool. Act now as we dive into this legislative session and keep the momentum going in the coming years. We challenge our ASCE colleagues and industry stakeholders to maintain regular conversations with legislators, regulators, business leaders, your fellow engineers, your friends, your family, your neighbors. This report card is your guide to bringing light to Texas infrastructure critical needs. With that, I'll hand things back over to Julie. Griselda Gonzalez, Griselda Gonzales.
Thank you, Griselda and Austin. We appreciate your time today and your service over the last year leading this record-breaking 60-member Infrastructure Report Card Committee. Before we open it up to questions, I'm pleased to invite today's guest speakers, Austin Construction and Engineering Association President-elect Steve Enan, and Austin Chamber Vice President for State and Federal Regulations Travis Krogman. If y'all want to please come up. So we'll start with Steve.
Thank you, Julie. I just wanted to kind of bring a little bit of, humanity to this. First of all, thank you for the introduction. My name is Steve Enan, spelled I-H-N-E-N, and I am a professional engineer. I work for Blau Engineering as the Austin Regional Manager, and I'm the President-elect of Austin Contractors and Engineers Association. So when you woke up this morning, you probably turned on a light, you went to the bathroom, probably went to the sink, took a shower, probably got something to eat somewhere or even at home. Then you proceeded to venture on the road, and you got here through either public transit or you drove somewhere, you somehow got here. So to all of that, from the very first minute that you woke up this morning, you owe all of that to public infrastructure. Public infrastructure delivered that electricity, delivered the water, it took care of your wastewater without you even thinking about it. And it brought the food to you. So for all of that, we owe ourselves to the public infrastructure. All of these improvements are enjoyed without us even noticing them. They're part of our everyday life. We go about them and they're completely unnoticed until there's failure. And we are looking at report cards here where we have potential failures here. Such failures can cost lives. Multitude or even just one life is a tragedy. Without proper planning and strategic funding for our public infrastructure, we could be strained to a level where there is no longer support for economic growth and opportunities here in Texas. Public infrastructure is not just for a convenience or for luxury. Public infrastructure is the foundation of a growing and thriving society. We need to reflect back at our prior generations that invested heavily in our public infrastructure that we enjoy today. But we also need to look forward and plan for and prioritize how we are to maintain and develop the public infrastructure and for future generations so that they can do the same. The task of looking forward and prioritizing and planning is a significant challenge. American Society of Civil Engineers, this report card, has identified significant investment gaps in Texas, highlighting the urgent need for funding to address the shortfalls in highways, bridges, levees, and water and wastewater, and even more. Without proactive measures, we risk catastrophic failures. In conclusion, maintaining and improving our infrastructure is vital to our safety, health, and prosperity for all Texans. It requires a collaborative effort from government, private sector, communities, federal governments, local governments to ensure that our infrastructure meets the demands of today and also of the future. So past legislatures have made the choice to invest heavily and we need them to do so in our future today. Now is the time for the legislature to invest in our children's future. And with that, I'd like to hand over to Travis Krogman.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much to the American Society of Civil Engineers for hosting this press conference, undertaking the extensive scorecard and analysis that they have done to inform both leaders in the public sector and the private sector about investments that are necessary to improve infrastructure investments that can benefit all Texans. My name is Travis Krogman. I am pleased to represent the Austin Chamber of Commerce, and we are honored to represent over 1,700 small, medium, and large-sized businesses here in Central Texas in our 5-county region. And infrastructure is really one of the key issues that we work on. This is a public benefit and a public good and a really strategic investment into our economy and helps fuel economic development and job creation and all of the above. It really lifts all boats. And, you know, we could spend all day talking about this scorecard and, you know, deficiencies and where we're doing well. But here in Central Texas and in Austin, in the city limits, we have 3 really big projects that are happening simultaneously that are bringing in over $25 billion of investment. And that is the expansion of I-35. If anyone drove on it today, it was probably congested. We have a new light rail expansion project called Project Connect that is going to help move people around our city more efficiently, reduce congestion on those roads, and the expansion of our airport. It'll be no surprise to anybody in this room that Austin has seen unbelievable population growth over the past 10 years. And our airport is busting at the seams. And the vision that the airport has with their program and their campaign called Journey with AUS is going to help expand the airport and make sure that our big city has a reflective big airport with it. And so those 3 projects happening simultaneously underscore, you know, how we are doing in Central Texas with aviation, with our roads, with rail, and transit. And we are being responsive to that. But in particular, one issue that I think resonates maybe a little bit more than some of these other ones, both for our region and statewide, is water infrastructure. I hear this from business owners, from small businesses to our largest industries about water infrastructure. And, you know, we are here just off the House of Representatives floor, and the House and the Senate have both advanced and shared some budgets and some visions for how they want to spend their priorities this year. And I think that we are in a strong position to deliver some really significant investments in water infrastructure. Here in Central Texas, we have 2 industries in particular that are very water intensive. That's our semiconductor manufacturing industry. We have one of the largest semiconductor chips manufacturing clusters in the entire country, which helps us address national security issues and making more chips in America. We love to see that, but it's a very water intensive industry and it needs a lot of water for these fabs and manufacturing facilities. Coupling that with the growth in artificial intelligence and the expansion of data centers statewide, also very water intensive, we simply need to see more investments in this. And I think that, you know, from our view, this is an issue that legislators and lawmakers on both sides of the aisle really care about and are wanting to invest in. We want to see a sustained year-over-year investment in water infrastructure, because it's not just good for our economy and creating jobs and supporting manufacturing and really important industries. This helps everybody. If I ask the question to this room, do you want to not use water today? I don't think anybody would raise their hand, because we all use it. And we all benefit when strategic investments from the legislator are put into this sector. So we are really grateful for the work that the American Society of Civil Engineers has undertaken in this. We look forward to being a partner with them on a lot of issues going forward, and appreciate the opportunity to be here and share our story and the work that we're doing. So I'll turn it back over to Julie.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve and Travis, and for sharing your insights today and for coming to join us. truly an investment in infrastructure pays dividends in the future, and so with that investment, we hope to carry the state forward. So we may have some questions, and the Infrastructure Report Card Committee co-chairs, Griselda and Austin, and Texas ASE President Dr. Mark Boyd are available for questions. So with that, I will open up the floor for questions.
You just mentioned water as the biggest issue. Do you guys agree that that's the one that, before anything else, legislature needs to do something on?
Is that who you with, Renee?
Red Johnson with the Texans.
So the question was, it was mentioned that drinking water was highly emphasized with the chamber's comments. Do we agree that that is the highest priority? And I wouldn't say that either one of these has a priority over either one of them. I mean, I mentioned electricity. You can't work the wastewater systems or water systems without electricity. We also emphasized the interconnectedness of all of them. Now, so it's only as good as the weakest link, and water is extremely valuable in Central Texas. And so, but I do not think, and we don't have a stance that one of these categories is more emphasized than any of the other ones, because they all bring extreme value in their own aspects, or rely on other ones to perform their duties. Of course.
Thank you for that question. I just want to make a quick point, talking about the interconnectedness that Austin is talking about. The wastewater infrastructure is inexorably linked to the water infrastructure. If our wastewater infrastructure declines, our raw water sources decline in quality. If our raw water sources decline in quality, then we need to pump more money into water infrastructure. So putting a top 10 list on priorities is kind of a counterproductive and it's a good example of how that's counterproductive for considering infrastructure funding, which is why we answer the question this way.
Well, the legislature only has so much money, right? So they kind of have to do a priority list. Just out of practicality.
So next question. For you.
Yeah. What is the name? Who's gotten it in the past?
That is a great question, and we'll have to get back to it. Not in Texas.
Yeah.
I'm sure another state and the infrastructure category another state has. So we'll back to you.
And there are more categories in the nationwide infrastructure than there are on Texas. We did add 4 additional categories this time, but we don't have all the categories that the nationwide infrastructure has. And that report card will get released on March 25th, and so they will do a release for it as well.
Another question, are there any improvements that you've seen that you want to highlight that Texas has made, that have resulted in the past?
So the question is, any infrastructure improvements that have made an improvement to the grade in the past few years?
Yes, so I highlighted a few of them. 2 of them, it was aviation, got an increase in grade, and our road system got an increase in grade. I think it was roads was D plus to a C minus, and aviation went from a B minus to a B plus, or not B plus, a B.
I think she was asking for specific projects that made an increase.
Oh, specific projects. I don't think, we didn't really highlight specific projects. There's a bunch of, like airports, there's a bunch of projects going on. Chamber mentioned ABIA. Houston has big projects, DFW. So it's not just one specific project when it's all like everything that's being improved.
Next question.
What's the non-monetary solutions that y'all want to see the legislature?
So the question is the non-monetary solutions that the legislation can do to improve the grade.
Well, we made recommendations on policy and standards, and those are some of the improvements that we can make. It is policies with regards to resilience code standards, appropriating funding to their source. Those are some of the improvements that we can make.
We also touch on a little bit of the planning side as well. Well, I think it was 20, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, it was the 2016 legislature after Harvey, or 2018, the implement of the statewide water development flood infrastructure, the plan that was implemented to the Texas Water Development Board. Like, planning is a big aspect. We list off a lot of funding gaps, but if there's no plan to implement those, then we're really not getting anywhere we need to go.
Blaze Game from the Texas Newsroom. Broadband and transit both have a D plus. Is that part of Texas just being really big and being hard to expand those things, or what goes into that?
The question being, what is the explanation behind the grades for broadband and transit?
Yes, so for transit, that was part of it, and the available data that was out there, you said for broadband. So yes, we have a large state. We have a lot of miles, a lot of rural areas. So that is part of the reason, yes.
Next question.
Can you expand upon what led to the D plus in dams?
So the question is, what led to the D plus in dams?
Trying to think.
So each category that we represent, the 16 categories, we have kind of an 8 criteria method that goes into it, and they analyze capacity, condition, funding, future need, innovation, operations, and maintenance, public safety, and resilience. And so each category goes in specifically into those criteria to help develop those grades. So for dams, one of the issues that always comes up with dams, I think we've talked about in previous report cards as well, is ownership and like the planning behind dam infrastructure through TCEQ and implementing emergency. Another one of the sides is implementing emergency management of those. So the big thing is we focus on those 8 categories. Then there's different aspects that go into each one of those.
I want to add to that one also. It had to come back to me a little bit. But also is that there's a lot more development going on downstream of dams. So population centers are growing downstream, and that's causing a safety issue. So safety was one of the metrics that brought dams down.
Next question.
Just real quick, add to the, it's not really answer about dams, but answer to all these questions, is this booklet here has specifics on why the grades are what they are. For instance, for dams, what they just described, and it's lack of information, it's a lack of underfunding of the agency to determine the risks from these dam structures. And this is why the grade is as low as it is.
And for any specific questions, if you want to let us know, if you have a super in-depth technical question, we can get you with one of the contacts for the writers of that chapter. We do have the pamphlets in the back, and then online will be the full report. So if you want, that is a abbreviated report, but online we have the full report, so that if you want to get more details of each topic, that is more there. And I believe it's on the QR code here as well. QR code here as well.
It went live 15 minutes ago.
So next question. So, last call. Okay. If we are unable to answer your question today or have some in the future, please reach out to our immediate contacts, which is Jenny Peters and Kevin Longley. Jenny's here today, and we'd be happy to provide her contact information. Thank you again for joining us today to learn about our state's infrastructure condition. It was a pleasure sharing this summary of our findings with you. Don't forget, we will release our full report today, and always happy to schedule follow-up interviews. If we're unable to, so please let us know, and or contact us today, and we can get you more information. So that includes today's news conference. Thanks for joining us. Thank
Thank you, appreciate it. I have my cards back there, or you could ask me right now, and I'm happy to get you information. If you want to start scheduling an interview, I'm happy to do that too. Thank you, guys.
It was on here. It was the very beginning. It was literally the second one. It was the second one on here. The Daniels.
Yeah, but I was trying to remember like why
Yeah. And it's unchanged. So
is this won't be online? Will this be online? Is this going to be online?
It's gonna be on Telemundo, so they have a new schedule.
Well, no, but it's going to be live feed too.
Yeah, we're still streaming right now.
Yeah.
So,
Hot mic.
Just 1 second so we can.
They're still looking up some words.
Looking up some words.
Infrastructure words to make sure it's accurate.
Do we have a Spanish speaker?
We do get 2 of them.
Okay, good.
Mark Ruff is
And that's kind of important if we're gonna do a Spanish summary.
I know Mark Ruff. Sorry, I'm no help there. And then
But it's technically.
just Mark.